A few weeks ago, May Sweden published this song.
A young child will turn him on. A child will turn him on. But she wore a charm, so he could not harm.
The song talks about a guy who as an adult discovers that he's a pedophile. And because he never ever wants to risk hurting a child, he decides to kill himself. I think we should care about pedophiles. I think we should have an honest, emotionally disengaged conversation about pedophilia. Hi, I'm Patrick Bousseau, and today I would like to answer 3 basic questions about pedophilia. The first one, what is pedophilia and what is it not? Is pedophilia moral? And why should you care about pedophiles and pedophilia? What is pedophilia, and very importantly, what is it not? Pedophilia is a sexual attraction to prepubescent children or children in the early stages of puberty. A diagnosis does not apply to sexual behaviors among pre- or post-pubertal children with peers who are close in age. Pedophilia is a disorder in sexual preference. Pedophilia is not downloading child abuse imagery, which is also known as child pornography. Pedophilia is not child abuse. Pedophilia is not an action. It is crucial to understand the difference between a fantasy or a desire and an action. Pedophilia describes a fantasy or a desire and not an action. Research is very hard to conduct in this area because people with pedophilia are a largely invisible group. That's why a lot of the research is questionable and not representative. A lot of the research is being done in prisons and penitentiaries, where they're studying offending pedophiles. Those are people who have already committed offenses. This already shows you how biased such research is going to be, because all pedophiles in those studies are also criminals. But that doesn't at all mean that all pedophiles are also criminals. Second question, is pedophilia moral? This part is largely borrowed from my soon-to-be good friend Alex O'Connor, aka Cosmic Skeptic. He made a similar case for homosexuality as I'm doing now for pedophilia. Some people argue that pedophilia, sexual desires and fantasies towards children are immoral. I would argue that that is an invalid argument, as those people are making the assumption that pedophilia falls within the moral sphere. Those people are making the assumption that pedophilia can be judged within the context of morality. I don't think pedophilia can be judged within the context of morality. Morality is based on the well-being of sentient beings and tries to maximize that well-being. Everything we do falls within 2 categories. The first one being the moral world, the moral landscape, or the moral sphere. And the other category is the amoral world, where everything that cannot be judged within the context of morality lies. To illustrate this, we can use this table by my good friend Alex O'Connor. The table is split into 4 sections: conscious, unconscious, affects well-being and doesn't affect well-being. In order for something to fall within the context of morality, it has to affect well-being and be conscious. I'll give you some examples. If I'm sleepwalking, I get out of bed, I walk around a little, and then I go back to bed and just continue sleeping, then I've done so unconsciously and my actions haven't affected the well-being of anyone. Therefore, it does not fall within the context of morality. If I'm sleepwalking and I knock down a glass of water over which the next morning somebody slips and falls and gets injured, my action would have actually affected somebody's well-being, but it would have still been unconscious. So I still wouldn't have been morally accountable for that action. If I decide right now to turn around, I've done so consciously. but I haven't affected anyone's well-being. Therefore, it doesn't fall within the context of morality. Now, if I had intentionally injured a person, that action would have affected somebody's well-being, and I would have done so consciously. And bingo, we're now in the context of morality, where my actions can be judged and I can be held morally accountable for those actions. Now, let's check with pedophilia. Does pedophilia affect the well-being of a person? I would actually say yes, it does. It affects the person affected with pedophilia, the person that actually has sexual desires and fantasies towards children. But we still have one more question to ask to decide whether pedophilia falls within the moral sphere. Is pedophilia a conscious choice? No, it's not. So pedophilia does not fall within the moral sphere and therefore cannot be judged within the context of morality. For those of you who might think that pedophilia is a conscious choice, let's quickly talk about the origins of sexual preferences. There's no scientific consensus on where sexual preferences come from. Especially concerning pedophilia, research has been really slow. But most likely the cause for pedophilia is a mix between biological predispositions and early environmental factors, just like with other paraphilias, sexual orientations and sexual preferences. But even if the main cause for pedophilia was environmental factors and not a biological predisposition, the affected person still never chose to have those sexual desires and fantasies. Therefore, pedophilia does not fall within the context of morality and cannot be judged within that moral sphere. You don't choose your sexual orientation, you simply discover it. Now, let's move on to the third question. Why should you care about pedophiles? Pedophiles are people like you and me. They're people like your brother, your son, or your husband. They are good people that have been affected by this condition through no fault of their own. Affected people can never live their sexual desires because they know that hurting a child is wrong and they would never do anything to hurt a child. Pedophilia is one of the most stigmatized disorders today. And because of that stigmatization, the affected people most often don't have anyone they can turn to and talk to. Currently, research suggests that around 1% of men are affected by this condition. That's a lot of people, and they're largely invisible to society. Caring for pedophiles and offering them the necessary help to ensure they'll never become offenders is crucial in child abuse prevention. The stigma around pedophilia is massive. Scientists have a hard time finding grants to study this condition because people and institutions are afraid to get associated with pedophilia. Me, for example, I'm studying to be a drum teacher, and I can tell you that I'm probably putting myself in a disadvantaged position because future employers and the parents of children I'll be teaching just won't want to work with someone associated with this topic. But you know, if me talking about pedophilia, educating you, my audience, about this subject helps just one pedophile or prevents just one offense, I think it's all worth it. Man, in the tune Leave Him Cold, we tell the story of a guy who decides to kill himself because he never wants to hurt any children. That's a tragic story, and it's not a made-up story. Stories like this actually happen. If I can prevent suicide, I've done my job right. If I can prevent child abuse, I've done my job right. Lifting the stigma is likely to be the best prevention we have. I'm a musician, and this is not at all my area of expertise. So by no means am I an authority on this subject. Still, I hope you could take away some valuable information from this video. A few weeks ago, I was lucky enough to have a conversation with Monica Eglialge about pedophilia, pedophiles and the work that she does. Monica Eglialge is an expert in the field, and I'll be sharing the conversation we had on this channel next week. I left some interesting links for you down below in the description if you want to dive deeper into this subject. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you subscribe and ring the notification bell so that you won't miss any future videos. When the music ends, the conversation starts. See you soon. Bye.